items. Okay, this is the informal meeting of August 10th, 2020. Copies of draft minutes of the July 1st, 13th, and 21st meetings have been provided to the council members and have been also posted on the city website. Hold on one second, please. Okay, the city treasurer's report for the month ending March 31st is located in a binder at City Hall and is also uploaded to the city website for your review. Committee reports are also all available to the council members and will be posted on the website. We have 8 communications about a variety of things, which we can introduce at our formal next week. And let's get right to resolutions. I'm gonna do a couple of the easy ones. I'm not gonna do them in the order they're listed so that we can save the ones that require a lot of conversation for last. Shaheem, can you post number 3, please? This, no, not that one. The off the Spark Mobile contract. Yes, this is a very simple resolution. We approved a resolution to authorize the mayor to sign this contract. There's been a slight change in the user fee, and this just authorizes the mayor to sign the amended contract. Can I have, unless there's conversation, kind of an introduction, please?
Calvin.
Anyone?
Calvin.
Calvin? Can I have a second, please? You have to talk because I can't see everybody.
Eileen, I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Eileen. Thank you, Calvin. Then, Shaheem, go to the one about the Hudson City School District. Right there, yes. As you know, in the past, the city school district reimburses us for the resource officer that that the city, that HPD supplies to the school. Can I have an introduction?
Calvin, I'll introduce.
Calvin. And a second, please.
Duan.
Duan, thank you. Gentlemen. Okay. The next one, Shaheem, could you go to the tourism board grants? There they are. Okay, before we even consider this, after tonight's meeting, they decided to reconsider the one listed Daniel Rothbart. So please erase that from the resolution or cross that out from the resolution. Can I have an introduction and a second, please? And then we can discuss if you want.
Duan.
Dewan, and who was the other one?
I'll second. Walker.
Malachi. Thank you, gentlemen. Any discussion? Let me tell you that if between now and the formal, I think I already posted to the website are all the details on these applications along with the budgets. if you want, oh, I see Eileen has raised her hand. Eileen, please, is this about that? Okay. We can't hear you yet. Shaheem, can you unmute? There you go.
There we go. I would like to see how everybody feels about treating these one at a time rather than all or nothing.
Well, it's not all or nothing, because we can go through and just like we just did, get rid of single ones. I mean, we can go over each one without a doubt. If you'd like to.
And then what if there is not agreement on all of them? Does the resolution have to be undone, or do we just strike it at the meeting and move on?
We could strike it and move on, and then, you know, decide how we want to deal with the other one. If it's, yeah,
Mhm.
you know, it's not,
Okay,
you know what I mean? It's just, this is just a convenience so that we don't have to go through it each one in, I mean, it's also, I believe, well, never mind. But yes, we can strike out each one as we go along. There's
Okay.
other hands up. I think that's Dominic.
Yes.
Okay.
With the Music Man, the purchase of the piano, does that then become property of the city?
It better. No, I mean, that's definitely how these grants work. Anything purchased like that would be. I'm not sure.
Say that.
Excuse me. Hello?
This is Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm just saying all of our contracts do say that any basically permanent materials become the property of the city.
There you go.
Is that something the city needs, is a piano?
Well, maybe we
I
can
mean,
sell it back.
we already agreed that we're getting the Little Deb's trailer once it's done. We already have a stage, portable stage. So some of the stuff is becoming property of the city. That, where does it go from there?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It does become our possession, but yeah, what do we do with it? Let's see if we can get an answer to that between now and the formal.
Okay, thank you.
Let me write a note on the Pace family. Okay, what about any of the others you want to?
Yeah,
Who's that?
Jane,
Oh, hi, Jane.
hi. Yeah, I had a question about the Hawthorne Valley Rolling Grocer, probably revealing my unfamiliarity with this. Can we talk a little bit about how this plays into the mission of the tourism board? But, and forgive me, it might just be my ignorance, but is there maybe somebody
Okay.
better?
Yeah, I think Calvin, as the chair, can speak to that.
Thank you.
This
Calvin?
was in efforts to reach, visitors and locals who may need, assistance with food, essentially. And so it'd be a mobile trailer that would be made to provide accessibility to those who may not ordinarily be able to get out of their home, or and it's also you can walk up to the trailer, and so it would be something that's available to both locals and visitors.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. But it doesn't drive around like the old rolling grocer, mobile grocer.
Essentially it's like mobile retail.
But we're not going to, like the piano, we're not going to wind up owning a van.
The funds would go to kind of sprucing up the mobile trailer.
Okay. I would just comment that I certainly see the value of this. I see the value of it more for residents than for visitors. But 2 cents.
So Calvin, do you think something like this would be appropriate for the CARES Act grant that you were talking about through economic development?
I think it serves its purpose, on the tourism board. But I would be open to reconsidering other funds that could be better utilized.
By the way,
Thank
the CARES money is not available yet. I mean, that's part of what,
Yeah,
that's part of what's on the table in Washington right now. So I wouldn't be too hopeful about it.
Right.
Given that there's already a breakdown in some of these, for the next meeting, we will go through we will vote on each one just because it seems, or how about this? We keep Bindlestiff, Open Studios. Let's see, what's the other one?
Hudson Cruises?
Hudson Cruises as one resolution, and then the other three we will reconsider.
So,
Can I just
look
add
at
to the,
separately,
Who's
right?
that?
it's Rebecca. I just wanted to say that to me, it seems like a clear advantage to have groceries, quality groceries that are like visible throughout the city in a mobile kind of way for tourists and residents alike, but especially for people who are coming for a short time and might be confused about why there is so few grocery opportunities in Hudson, and that this would be like a great answer to that.
So,
I think what I'm trying to suggest here is that the ones that seem controversial, we should vote on individually, and the other three, since there doesn't seem to be any question about them, we could roll into one resolution. Does that
Are you
sound fair?
putting all the double
Who's this?
digits
Oh,
grants
Tiffany?
in this? I'm asking, are you putting the double digit as separate resolutions? Or are you putting all the double digits in one and all the other ones in one?
I'm not sure I understand the question. It has nothing to do with the amounts. It has to do with ones that are being questioned and ones that aren't.
Well, I'm asking you what is on both resolutions, because I'm hearing on and off of what is being said. So I'm asking you.
Oh,
what
you don't
is
have,
on those two
you can't see the
resolutions?
screen? There are three that we were going to put into one resolution. The Bindlestiff, Hudson Open Studios, and Hudson Cruises. The other three, we were going to do individually since there seems to be some question about them. Or actually, one is completely off, Daniel Rothbard. But I don't understand the digit question.
I was basically asking you the 15,000, the 12,000, and the 14,000 would be in one separate grant, and the 2,000 and the 1,000 would be in a separate resolution, two separate resolutions. That's
No,
what
it has nothing to do with the amount. One grant is the bundled grants are the 15, the 12, and the one at the bottom, which I can't see on my screen, which is only what,
1,200.
1,200.
So you're gonna wait for the informal to discuss what the grant is requested for and what is it gonna be spent on? Is that what you're saying?
No, Tiffany, what I'm saying is, since we're in the informal, we can discuss all of them right now if you wish, but I thought there was no dissent about three of them so that we could bundle those into one resolution, and then the other three, the other two, we can have further discussion and vote individually on, since there seems to be some question about them.
I would like to know about each of them and the amount that they requested and being received through the tourism board.
Okay, then we'll go through each one right now. Calvin, would you like to lead us through it?
Yes, so we have Bindlestiff Family Circus. They were asking for a long-term grant of $15,000 to implement productions that they've already put on in the past. I'm pretty I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar with Bindlestiff at this point, Bindlestiff Family Circus, and so their grant would go towards staffing, personnel, uh, things things to that things to that nature, and that was on behalf of Stephanie. Let me see. Hudson Open Studios. Their ask was for 12,840. I don't have that. Yeah, I do beg your pardon. I don't have these in front of me currently. Their ask was for 12,840. And let's see, Hawthorne Valley in collaborations with Roland Grocer. Their ask was for 14,707. This was the initiative to create a mobile retail and provide access to those who may not ordinarily have access to organic goods and produce, in addition to tourists and visitors as well. They could utilize the mobile retailer, you know, by walking up to it and using its services. And Daniel Rothbart, we're not considering for the sake of this resolution, but that included a fixture that would be placed into Oakdale Lake. It's more of a visual art component associated with that. And so that was specific to Oakdale Lake. And we have the DePace Family Music. Their ask is for $3,100. Essentially, this was the idea of a young student named Mac. He thought it would be great to have music played for those throughout the community. I don't recall the actual musician's name, but he's pretty popular. First name Tony. And so essentially, the piano would go on the back of the pickup truck. They would appear at various sites throughout the community that are accessible to everyone. And they would put on, a showcase for about 30 minutes at each location. And so, that was definitely a feel-good proposal. And Hudson Cruises, their ask was for $1,200. And kind of, I do beg your pardon on this one. I'm kind of drawing a blank on Hudson Cruises.
Hudson Cruises was to, excuse me, to finance their service of the ferry going to and from Athens.
Weren't they the ones who were locking the dock in years past?
It's completely, yeah. That's not being done anymore. That was a separate dock, and they are not.
Okay, well,
they're not part of that anymore.
that was something that they were doing, correct?
It was.
And I'm sorry, Tom, this is to pay for their, is that to pay for their rental to pay the city? Is that what that's for? 1,200 hours?
Yes.
That's to pay for their rental spot to the city.
Right, because the tourism board found it a valuable thing to do, to have that regular.
But no citizens are getting any benefit discounts or anything for the service.
Calvin?
How do you mean, Dominic?
Well, if a City of Hudson resident, they don't get a discount in utilizing the boat. They have to pay regular fee. However, we're paying for their rental fee at the dock.
So are you saying, are you recommending that they provide a discount to Hudson locals?
Yes.
I'm not.
Yes.
Yeah, it would have been nice. It would have been nice if they offered something like that. If we're necessarily taking a private company and paying for them to be in the City of Hudson, there should be some kind of benefit to our citizens, that we're paying a discount for, city, citizens that are want to utilize that.
I totally agree with Dom.
Understood. Yeah. So I can reach out to Hudson Cruises with that stipulation, with that contingency. Not a problem.
Okay. Given,
My last question to
Sure.
Calvin,
Mhm.
has there, and besides Daniel tonight, has there any applicant that has come to the tourism and has been denied?
Yeah, we've denied some proposals. Yes, we've
Any.
denied several.
Thank you.
Given the conversation, I think what we'll have to do is check in on a couple of these before next Tuesday, as well as, and this will make a couple of people very happy, well, actually one person in particular, we will break down this resolution into separate considerations, given what's been raised. Although maybe
Okay.
we can at least keep Bindlestiff and Hudson Open Studios on this resolution.
I just
Well,
wanted
I do
to,
have a,
oh.
I got a question about Bindle Sticks.
Mhm.
So I don't mean to be a pain. So right now there's
Okay.
2 dates that they're offering. One is the date and one is a rain date. Is there anything that's saying, God forbid, that our weekend or that those days are washed out? Are we out to $15,000, or is there a bond? Like a lot of times, entertainers take out a bond or take out that if their performance isn't done, then we get the money back.
Well, there's another question we need to ask before next Tuesday.
That should be on our contract for everyone that applies to the tourism board.
Okay, but that solves it. I guess right now, Hudson Open Studios is the only one on this resolution. So we do have a introduction and second for Hudson Open Studios. Everything else will be separated. Whoever's doing that, please mute yourself. And we will have separate resolutions for the others, assuming that they answer the questions that we've had tonight. Okay, moving right along. Before we get into the next resolution, those of you who are here to discuss short-term rentals, that's not on tonight's agenda, but I can tell you that the timeline in going into the future is the legal committee on August 26th at 6:15 will be a discussion of the third and hopefully final draft of the short-term rental law regulation. And then that will be processed through the September meetings. So you'll have a full, we hope to have the actual draft out at least a week before that meeting, if not more. And then the meeting on August 26th, which will also include a PowerPoint and an open discussion about the short-term rental regulations. So save all your questions so you see the third draft, because it is indeed a radical revision so far of the first and second. Moving right along, the next resolution. Before we, where are you? The 75 North 7th, Shaheem. There you go. Thank you. Now, before we get into this,
About that energized New York
Excuse me,
grant.
Tom.
Oh.
the Energized New York grant, that's something we've already done.
Tom, do I have to be in the waiting room for this one?
Oh, sorry. Thank you for mentioning that, Calvin. Shaheem, will you put Calvin in the waiting room? Thank you. Okay, here's how this is going to go out. First of all, we'll have a introduction in a second. And after that, we will have a full and open discussion by anyone who wants to participate. All I ask is that you wait your turn, you raise your hand, and when you're acknowledged by Shaheem and or me, please don't spend more than 3 minutes in what you have to say. Shaheem will be timing you. So, and by the way, the council gets to speak first. So wait your turn, let the councilman talk, and then everybody else can chime in. So having said that, do I have an introduction?
Duan.
Duan, and a second?
Tiffany.
Tiffany. Okay. So, council members. I see, let's see, we have, Shaheen, do you want to just pick from the list there? You can see it all, right? Who's raised their hand? Oh, maybe you need some help because I see a non-council person has risen their hand, raised their hand. So let's start with Eileen.
Okay. There were a couple things that I was hoping would become clearer this evening. And the first is what is the pent up demand, the waiting list, the count of the people waiting for apartments that's driving this project. And the other information that I was looking for was whether the council has any interest in approaching the Galvan organization to have them do rehab, or whatever the right word is, several properties that they own in the city already that are vacant, that could be apartments for rent, and more apartments for rent should have an impact on the price. I have some other questions, but in the interest of staying brief, I'll just start with those two, or I'll just ask those two tonight.
Okay, thank you. I think Dan Kent's with us, but I think we'll let him respond after the council all talk first, okay? Rebecca is up next, Shaheen. Rebecca Wolf.
Hi, am I muted or unmuted?
Oh, you're.
Okay, great. Well, I wanted to say very, very briefly in response to Eileen's question, I recently got the number of people on the waiting list for voucher from Housing Choice Voucher Program, which is 103. So there you go with that. So I wrote something that I'm going to read as quickly as I can. I'd like to explain my support for the proposed pilot. I am part of the project team for the Anti-Displacement Learning Network grant that the city received last fall from the State Attorney General's office. This grant has given us the opportunity to observe and interact with the housing and planning departments of cities around New York State, including Syracuse, Ithaca, Rochester, Buffalo, and Kingston. From presentations by and conversations with elected officials and officers of these cities, we as a team have become aware of how truly it is an untruth to say that the gentrification of a city is inevitable, that there is nothing to be done to create and preserve housing affordability in cities. We see that it is certainly true that if, as has happened in recent administrations of the city of Hudson, a city chooses not to take advantage of many avenues that are available to push back against rising real estate values and the interests of real estate investors, large and small, the displacement of low-income families, and particularly residents of color, will proceed unchecked. The city of Hudson has sadly missed its opportunity to retain what is called naturally occurring affordable housing. There are a host of significant funding programs available from the state government that could have allowed the city to plan for affordability and programmatically organize itself to keep Hudson socioeconomically diverse and healthy as a robust community. These programs include land banks, housing trusts, low-income home ownership programs, rental rehabilitation programs for low-income rental properties, and others. There are also private foundations and public-private agencies, even within the city of Hudson, whose job it was to pursue housing affordability for residents and which did not. The agency most directly responsible for this mandate is the HCDPA, or Hudson Community Development and Planning Agency. The city as a whole did not take steps to engage with those programs. At a crucial juncture about 15 years ago, the Galvin Foundation began to purchase low-cost properties in Hudson, which might have been otherwise utilized by the city in partnership with the state or with other housing organizations to plan for future affordability. Hindsight being 2020, in the year 2020, we can see how truly wise this would have been and how truly negligent previous administrations have been in their ignorance, or worse, willful rejection of these opportunities. At this time, low-income families in Hudson require anchors of affordable housing to retain their residential opportunity. Families that have been here for generations deserve the right to thrive in their community with their friends, their school, their places, their landmarks, and their opportunities to pass along cultural and environmental wisdom and beauty to coming generations. Every day that passes brings painful choices to families and residents that are priced out. Hudson must make the most of every opportunity to preserve and create housing stock for full-time residents. The Galvin Foundation presents a number of complex issues for the city of Hudson to contend with. I wish to thank Alderpersons Garriga, Rosenthal, and Walker for their work to negotiate with the foundation to answer and address significant concerns that the pilot proposal has presented. And if there's anyone I left out that I should thank, forgive me. The proposed pilot is improved in several important ways. A history of poor property management of commercial and residential properties by Galvin Asset Management is one area of great concern to me that has now been addressed. The dollar amount of the annual pilot is another. Construction standards and environmental sustainability features of the actual development are another. I am satisfied that this project is an extraordinarily significant one for the Galvin Foundation, as it is their first attempt to work with state government on the construction and operation of affordable housing in Hudson. The levels of oversight from the state that are built into the process by which they are proposing to build this project are many and not confined to one body, and are sustained throughout the development process. With the conditions in the pilot, New York State requirements and oversight, planning board review, and the opportunity to further set conditions, code enforcement, and the oversight review board created through council negotiations, I look forward to the success of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I should make clear, by the way, even though there's a 3-minute time limit, that's for non-council members, just to make clear. Next up, Jane Trombley.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Jane?
Yeah, okay, so I'm next, right? Okay.
Yep.
Rebecca, I've got utmost respect for you, and I actually am in violent agreement with much of what you stated, although I think I might go about it in a slightly different way. I'd like to just respectfully acknowledge that your citations of, as you noted, missed opportunities is egregious. It's too bad. It slipped through for whatever reason. It didn't happen, and it's a pity. But I'm not certain that there isn't an opportunity to revisit that kind of innovative and thoughtful discussion as an alternative way of addressing a relentless problem of affordable housing. I think we could be so much more creative in our approach. I think we could be so much more thoughtful. I think we could be much more imaginative. I think we could apply ourselves and be the city that we see ourselves to be. That one is creative and imaginative and a problem solver that is committed to being inclusive, diverse, equitable, and fair. And I would agree that the pilot program that's being discussed this evening, the revision, is an improvement, absolutely. But I think there are other ways of going about it, and this is an intractable problem. And one of the things I'd like to see us explore is the opportunity to provide affordable housing that wasn't just rental, that allowed people at the lower end of the economic scale to build wealth and to create wealth that is transferable from one generation to the next. One of our communications this evening was from a citizen that talked about the opportunity to create a sort of new class of homeowners. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, I don't remember anything more than the gist of it, as opposed to another set of renters. And there's nothing wrong with renters, we've got plenty of them. And this provides an opportunity for us to look at a long-standing problem with a renewed vision and learning from perhaps past mistakes and opportunities in not only the kinds of things that Rebecca mentioned, like land banks and community trusts, but state funding and public cooperative apartments and the like. So I'm getting quickly beyond my depth in some of the details, but I think we need to take a really big breath here. We're looking at scale in terms of physical scale, and scale in terms of time, and scale in terms of commitment in a very uncertain time. And I think we as a council owe it to the people we represent and the citizens as a whole to take a really, really careful look at how we're going to address this problem. So I yield the floor to the next person who's got a raised hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Tiffany is next.
Thank you. And once again, thank you, Rebecca. And I would like to say, you know, off of what Jane just said, imagine. Yes. Imagine the over 100 people that Rebecca Wolf just named had a place to live. Imagine the people that we see sleeping in 7th Street Park who may not be on the list, but we can see that they're homeless, had a place to live. Imagine we didn't even have these issues in the city, but guess what? We do. And there's no more time to sit back and imagine because we're comfortable owning our own properties and feeling like we don't need this in the city of Hudson when we actually do. Imagine supporting this pilot and seeing people of all mixed income youth actually living in this building. When we can do it and stop imagining. We have, you know, my main question for tonight for Dan Kent would be, if an individual, I represent the 2nd Ward and we have people of all different incomes. And the main part in my ward is low income. And I wanna know if I have my constituents that may be working at ShopRite, or maybe working at Walmart, or any other place that we know in this city are the main jobs out here. Nursing homes, young parents that just graduated high school, that are young adults that are seeking their path and they need their own place. I would like to know from Dan, would those individuals be able to afford an apartment in this pilot that you are offering to the city, partnering with the state, not another developer, with the state?
Okay, Tiffany, Dan will answer that after any other councilmen speak. And then after Dan answers, we will go to the public. Are there any other councilmen? Council people? Shershaw,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about to the Galban. Last meeting I mentioned about the parking issues. So there is any solution came about the parking issues for about the pilot program. And I also mentioned about to length of the pilot programs, if it is possible to do 25 years. And Galvan is doing a lot of good work for the community, and I like to thanks, but if they want it, they can do really 25 years of length of the pilot program. And another question is, there is no specific, we don't hear from Galvan, what are they doing from cross the street, which place they're going to do the pilot programs, that building, cross the street, that tire places. There is not specifically what they are going to do in there. And another thing is like in the corner of the 7th Street and the State Street, that 2 houses is south side of the alleys, those houses are include the pilot program or not? If not, is there any possible they can include those houses in the pilot program? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Shershaw. John, you had your hand up? John
Yeah,
Rosen?
a couple brief questions for Dan. I just want to get what Galvin's position is in terms of trash hauling, if they're going to be using DBW. Also, are you proposing to pay full rate for water? other, and just in general comment on those types of city services. And I just want to thank Dan for being a pretty fair negotiator in this process. And so that's all I have.
Thank you, John. Any other councilmen before we turn to Dan?
I had my hand up.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry, Dominic. It doesn't show up in the participant section. Go ahead, Dominic.
Okay, thank you. So I think, I've been researching a lot of this and doing a lot of little homework on a lot of it, on a lot of different ends. One is the information piece. I think there's a lot of information going out there that, that might not be understandable. Like, for example, there was a post that they're going to be an apartment for $500 and a 3-bedroom for $600. It doesn't say if that's, what the factors are. Is that, Section 8, is that, how does that work? By just throwing those numbers out without the other caveats to it, I think could be misleading in some regard. Another thing is that, the application that they're applying for for the end of the year, end of the month, is actually the spring application. Because the state was running a little late. So there's another option, in the next couple months, to answer some of these really important questions. Also, I think, it would be a better proposal and a better application if the planning board, if they went through the planning board like other applications have done in the past, is they bring planning board, it becomes a stronger application for the project. So I think that we need to, put the brakes on, get the best deal possible for everyone involved, including the 2%. Other pilots are variable 2%, variable rates, depending on other factors. To have a flat 2% rate, is a benefit to the, the pilot on one side, but not the city. If other rates go up, there are pilots that utilize a variable rate. So I really do think that we should really think about getting the best program, the best affordability, everything across the board, and where we can get more public input, because we need to have what's the real deal on a lot of these questions, including that the application doesn't necessarily they need a draft pilot, but it doesn't necessarily need our total agreement right now. It could mention it in the application, but even though it's preferred, but it is not necessary through HCR that, our pilot agreement is attached to it right now. That's why I think we do more time with planning, and we can make this a stronger project for everyone involved. Thanks.
Muted, Tom.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Dominic. Since no one else has their hand up from the council, first we'll hear from Dan and to answer many of those questions, and then I will take from the public in the order that the hands went up. So there's no preferential treatment. Dan, would you like to respond to all the questions you've heard so far?
I sure would. I'll answer them in the order received. So to start with Eileen, just to add to the data that Rebecca referenced, the Strategic Housing Action Plan passed by the Common Council has a wealth of data on the severity of the affordable housing crisis. One number that I find particularly concerning is that there are 890 housing cost burdened households currently in the city of Hudson. And that's just among renters, 890. So these are people who are spending more than 30% of their gross earnings on housing. So this project will be a very attractive opportunity for those people. And for many people moving into this housing, they'll be saving hundreds of dollars every single month, which they'll be able to spend on things like education, food, childcare, real necessities. So I think that's an important number to reference, and there's a lot of great data in the plan that was passed by the council. In terms of rehabbing other buildings throughout the city, that is something we're continuing to do. Since just 2018, we've completed 9 buildings and 23 units of mixed income housing all throughout the city of Hudson. So 75 North 7th isn't an either or. We're going to continue rehabilitating housing at the same rate that we have been, while also building this project. To Jane's point about home ownership models, I completely agree. And I think, again, this is not an either or. And, we've been very active in supporting the work of the Anti-Displacement Learning Network, which is looking at pursuing a home ownership program for the city of Hudson that will help first-time home buyers make down payments on their first home. This is a great program to help people gain access to home ownership for the first time. I commend the Anti-Displacement Learning Network for pursuing it, and I think we've been very supportive in providing technical assistance to help highlight this particular opportunity. So, and I at Galvin welcome any additional initiatives in the city of Hudson and ways that we can help support home ownership here. So please, if there are public resources out there you'd like to discuss or that we could help secure in some way, I'd love to be a part of that conversation. To Tiffany's point, your question about who will be able to afford housing in this facility, 1/3 of these units are reserved for 40 and 50% of AMI households. Now, what does that mean? That means people who are earning minimum wage, people who are earning $13, $14, $15 an hour. There will be units reserved specifically for that group. If you make more than that, you won't be eligible for these units. If you make less than that, then you will be eligible for a 1-bedroom that costs only $500 per month. Actually, it's $490. You will be eligible for a 2-bedroom. Let me pull up my number here. The 2-bedroom for $570 per month. So that's at the 40% AMI. 50% AMI is, slightly more expensive. You're looking at $640 for a 1-bedroom, $750 for a 2-bedroom, and $870 for a 3-bedroom. So
And that's not including Section 8, right?
We're not talking about Section 8 here. This is just the rent from the building. You don't need Section 8. You just need to have an income that is below the threshold, right? So this is a tremendous opportunity for low-income households. You can imagine for someone moving from another 1-bedroom in the city of Hudson, they will be saving hundreds of dollars every single month, and they'll have the opportunity to stay here in the city of Hudson.
Would Section 8 applicants be denied?
I'm sorry?
Would Section 8 applicants be denied?
Absolutely not. If you look at Galvin's track record, we accept more Section 8 housing choice voucher tenants than any other landlord in the city of Hudson. So we welcome people with Section 8. We'll be pursuing 8 project-based Section 8 vouchers, and anyone who has a Section 8 voucher will be eligible for any of these low-income units, because unlike most housing in the city of Hudson, these units will actually be affordable if you have a voucher. There are lots of people who have vouchers who can't even use them in the city of Hudson because the housing is so expensive. That's not going to be the case at this facility. Okay, next up, Shershaw, you had a question about parking. So as I noted at the previous meeting, we've commissioned a parking study to evaluate the availability of on-street parking spaces surrounding the building. Unfortunately, it's just not possible for us to create an underground parking lot in this building. The budget just does not allow for it. But the preliminary results from this parking study show that there are far more spaces than there will be cars generated from this building. And that's something that we'll be sharing with the planning board and discussing as part of that process. On the next question, so originally we had requested a 40-year pilot agreement. I understood that there was concern about the duration, so we reduced it all the way to 30 years. It's really hard for us to go any lower than 30 because we're taking out a private loan for this building. We're taking out a loan from a bank. The term of that loan is 30 years. So they really want to see that the expenses are predictable over the course of that mortgage. So that's why 30 is really the best we can do. If we could go lower, I would, but I don't want to compromise our ability to get that necessary piece of financing for the project.
Can your loan term could be 25 years?
I'm sorry?
Can your loan term can be 25 years?
No, unfortunately, that would make the debt service payments much higher. So we really can only make it work with the 30-year loan.
Is there a way to go make sure the non-for-profit after the 30 years, it doesn't kick in?
Absolutely. So we've committed, and we'll have as part of this agreement, a commitment that we will never attempt to take this project off the tax rolls. We will enter into a pilot that is the same or greater amount than what the pilot expires at year 30. Or we'll just, have the project assessed under 581A at that time. So we will not try to take this project, and we will commit in the agreement that we will not try to take this off the tax rolls or have a tax payment that is lower than the pilot at year 30.
Dan, could you explain what 581A is?
Yes, so this is a law passed by New York State. I think it was 2005 or 2006, and it established a method that assessors are required to use when assessing a affordable housing project that receives city, state, or federal financing. I think the reason for this was to encourage affordable housing in communities where the city would not be supportive of a pilot agreement. So it sets up a new way of assessing a building because, it wouldn't be fair to assess a low income or mixed income housing building in the same way that you do market rate because we generate so much less income. So with that method, we have a tax credit consultant we work with crunch the numbers for us, and he estimated that our 581A payment would be anywhere from $101,000 to $105,000 per year. So essentially, the tax benefit that you all are voting on amounts to $1,000 to $5,000 reduction per year.
But is that based on all the units or just the units that are receiving the affordability support?
That's for the entire building.
So the higher end, people that are in their $90,000 paying rent, that's not going to be part of that. That's still going to be part of the assessment. They're not going to be assessing just the ones that are paying the lower rent.
The assessment method is based on the income generated by the project. So it'll reflect the fact that there are units that are paying more than the super low income rent.
Okay, now this also then says after 30 years, you're not going to ask for another pilot. You're just going to take the 51A assessment and pay whatever that is.
Yeah, I'm saying we would do either just having it taxed as it would be through 581A if we didn't have a pilot, or entering into a new pilot agreement with an amount that is equal to or greater than the amount in year 30, which would be approximately $177,000.
Okay. Any way of doing the variable amount with the 2%, including if there's increases that? Well, right now you got a 2% increase, per year, but in other property owners, their rate's going to go up, in a different rate depending on the tax going up. So their rate's going to change. Yours are going to stay the same. Other pilots have incorporated in their pilots saying, by chance, if there's certain amounts that increase, there is a variable rate that it will increase, that rate.
So the reason we had asked and negotiated the 2% is that these rents are regulated. So the maximum amount that they're going to increase year over year is generally about 2%. So that's why we were asking for it to be set at 2%. Other expenses for the building, we expect will increase at more like 3%. So that's why we're asking for the 2% amount. But I think taken as a whole, if you look at this pilot agreement and the amount that we are committing to per unit, almost $1,300 per unit, this makes it the most generous pilot agreement in the Hudson Valley. This is a great deal for the city of Hudson.
And when you say about the parking garage, what you mean is that HCR will not fund the parking garage, but you could fund the parking garage yourself if it's needed.
I'm not sure it could be funded as a part of this project. It would add a significant amount of cost and would make the project financially unviable. I think as a 501c3 charitable foundation, we're always weighing what we commit our resources to. And I think, in this case, it would be challenging for us to justify if we were spending, several $1 million to self-finance a parking lot.
What happens if the planning board comes back and says you need one?
That's something we'll discuss with the planning board. We've commissioned the third-party parking study as part of that conversation. So, I'll leave that discussion for when we go before the planning board.
Okay. Now.
I have a few more on my list here. I wasn't able
Oh,
to.
you did? Oh, sorry. I thought that was it. Go
No,
ahead.
I still have to get to John. So,
Sorry.
John had asked about the water rate. Yes, this will be at the full rate. We're not expecting any kind of discount on trash hauling, on water. We're paying the same rate as everyone else for this project.
So that was it then. Okay, so now we're opening up to the public. Let me remind you once again, please don't go over 3 minutes. People come up in an order on my participants list, and that's how I'm letting you or having you participate. So the first person is someone listed as Sydney. You see that? Shaheen, will you let her in? Sydney?
Yep, she's got unmute.
Yes, hi.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead.
It's just a question. Okay, I understand that the proposal is going to cover the normal sewage and water costs like everyone else has to pay. But my question is, this is a building with at least 77 toilets and a lot of other drains. What is that going to do? Is $22 million going to cover that issue with the city of Hudson? All of these new pipes and everything going into sewage treatment. Is that a cost that's being covered by that $22 million project? Or is that some new cost that the city of Hudson has to take on in order to have this building? That's my question.
Thank you. Dan?
Sure. So, I'll of course let our site civil engineer speak to the details on the sewer system as part of the planning board process. I haven't seen any indication that there will be any additional incremental costs to the city's sewer system as a result of this project. But again, that's something that, will be taken up in the planning board site review, and that, I'll let our engineering experts speak to.
Okay. Next up is someone listed as Big Vern. Big Vern, are you there?
Tom, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. First, I just want to say that from the last meeting, sorry, not sorry for demanding the respect to our mayor. And I just wanted to make that clear, but I wanted to do it in a nice, pleasant voice. This question that I have is first directed towards Eileen and Dominic, who are my older people. I'm wondering, how are you guys getting this information out to your constituents so you can hear how they feel about this project? Because I know for a fact that when you guys were running, you guys were contacting me constantly, and I don't hear from you now. And Eileen, I wrote you a letter about you saying that I was out of order for respect for my mayor. But I'm wondering, how are you getting this out to your constituents? And I wanna give this to all the aldermen on this council with no disrespect and a nice, pleasant voice. How are you getting this out to your constituents? Because it seems like you guys are just making decisions on your own. And who are you asking and who are you telling? And next year, when it's time to vote, what would you be saying? Thank you, Tom. Much respect. Shaheem, I love you, bro.
So
Yes.
Vern, let's see.
Go ahead, Eileen, since you were addressed, I think you can
Yep.
respond.
Yes, thank you. I've gotten emails and I walk, as a lot of people who know me know, and I talk to the neighbors, I talk to the people in the ward, and there are two things, that they want to talk about. The first one is the chicken law, but then very few people raise the question of this project at this point to me in the ward. So occasionally I'll just ask them, what do you think about it? And I'll give a brief description. And there has not been a lot of clamor or, like I said, there's more concern about the chicken law, to be honest with you.
Okay, next up.
I can
Oh, sorry.
I can answer that too, Tom. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, he did address you too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, during this COVID situation, and that's one of the issues that totally about the whole idea itself, that we can't get the public input like we could. And myself, I'm medically have to stay in lockdown most of the time. But emails, phone calls, anything I respond to with both perspectives. So I reach out to everybody and anyone that has expressed any kind of interest in my view and their view. My numbers on the city website, my emails on the city website, and I welcome anyone for a conversation.
Is that it?
I think he addressed it to everyone.
Okay, thank you, Dominic. Next up is Claire Cousin. Claire?
Hi, can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, we can.
I just wanted to acknowledge both my representatives in the first ward. So Rebecca, I wanted to thank you because you represent my sentiments and my opinions on this pilot. And second, I wanted to call out Jane and invite her to remember the fact that you represent a big portion of the Hudson Terrace, and that waiting list is 200 odd people looking for affordable housing. So those are people that are looking to be represented by you. And I don't think that you're in touch with the needs in your ward at this point. And as a member of the Hudson Catskill Housing Coalition, I just invite you to maybe reach out to the leadership in the terrace and see what that waiting list really looks like and how many of those people currently live in Hudson, if they'll give you that information, and get back on the ground and actually talk to your constituents, because I don't feel like your opinion represents the better for this population down here.
Jane, you can answer that if you wish.
Thank you, Tom. Yes. Thank you. I appreciate your feedback. It's helpful to know. I've received a number of written communications from people across the board, and I haven't received anything from anyone in the Hudson Terraces. Now, it's not on them particularly. It's a two-way street. It's on me. So let me follow up with you, and perhaps we can continue this conversation offline. And I'm very, very open to, and would welcome the opportunity to learn more from your point of view. But I think respectfully, it's somewhat of a mischaracterization to suggest that I haven't been engaged with people in my
We
life.
haven't.
Thank you.
Next up is Ron Kupnicki. Ron, are you there?
Hi, it's Matt McGee who wants to speak.
Yes, this is Matt McGee. I've looked over the AMI and it's $83,300 for Hudson County, which is what applies. I mean, for Columbia County. And interestingly enough, in 2018, I don't have the figure in front of me, but it was 60-some thousand. So it changed by going on to $18,000 in those few years. So what's going to happen when this building is really occupied with that number? And also looking at $15 per an hour, that would be $37,440 if you work 48 hours a week, 54 weeks. So that gets you very close to what you have to meet the 40% now, which is $33,320 of the 2020 being. But just a little under that, and you could easily be knocked out in 4, 5, 6 years from now. So I don't think that's very helpful. And also, I wondered if the commercial space will be paying the full normal assessment for that part of the building, or will that be just included in this discount? Also, I think that the failure to go through the community has been rather severe leading up to now. And I would hope that this would improve. Thank you.
Dan, would you like to address a couple of those? I know the answer, but I'll let you.
I wasn't quite able to hear the last sentence there, but on the commercial space assessment, that is not included in this pilot agreement. That will be taxed at the full rate. Another note, since the last meeting, we've committed to provide a preference for minority-owned businesses in the commercial spaces in this building. As far as the question about the AMI for Columbia County, it is higher for the county than it is in the city of Hudson. And, that was some feedback we got very early on when we were discussing the project with Mayor Johnson. So that's part of why we set aside so many 40% and 50% AMI units for this project, as opposed to having more 60% AMI, which is more common for low-income housing developments. When the units are rented, the rent is set based on 30% of the AMI for that household size for that year. So the rents will continue to increase incrementally, 2% every year. The rents will continue to stay low. So even if you have a rapid increase in the AMI for Columbia County, that just means more people will qualify for the units in this building.
Thank you, Dan. Next up is the Honorable Kamal Johnson, the mayor.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank everyone for having a nonviolent meeting tonight. I wanted to address a couple of things about some of the work that we're doing around the city and how it pertains to this project. I recently, 2 weeks ago, held a convening that included all of the judges in the county, all of the mental health providers in the county, as well as the Hudson Police Department and various other agencies to talk about how we can support people with serious mental illness and substance abuse, as well as a community with a high number of undiagnosed mental disabilities. And one of the things that came up with every agency was that their work becomes incredibly difficult because of the lack of housing in Hudson. And that was across the board. So I wanted to let them know that I will be mentioning that here as well. And also I wanted to address Alderman Trombley and some of the remarks that she made. And this is with all due respect, Alderman, but not all people want to own homes, especially millennials who kind of just want to get started in a space and own something down the line. So we can't always expect that people just want to own homes, but also the way you describe renters was, and this is totally my opinion, I don't know if others shared this as well, but you seem to describe them like they were like less than citizens. And the fact that about building more homeowners and less renters, it was just a little bit disappointing. And I also want to remind folks on the council how we had people, living on State Street and a house that was inhabitable. It was deemed inhabitable by the city, and they were living there paying $1,300 rent, and on a home that had mold, that was falling apart, and they would not move. They would not report it to code. They would not say a thing because they did not have anywhere else to go. It wasn't to the point where the city stepped in and deemed the place inhabitable that they had to move. And we have lots of people that are living in homes that are deplorable and will not say anything because of the fear of when they walk out that door, they have nowhere else to go. If you're paying attention, Kite's Nest had a rally, and we had number of youth all talking about their experiences of living in apartments and being priced out and having to move, change schools, or being, 6 to 1 bedroom families doubling up together. So if we're not gonna listen to the adults, at least listen to the stories of these youth as well, because these are not just statistics, these are actual lives that people are living in. These are actual situations. So we're able to be comfortable in our own homes and our own apartments, but there's others that don't have that same luxury. And we need to stop imagining about a future of what could be and start showing action and promise to people now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next up is April Forbes. Can you unmute her? Or we can't hear you yet, Ms. Forbes. Shaheem, can you unmute her?
I have a comment.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just initially quickly want to say, in speaking with Mr. Kent earlier today and speaking on behalf of Holy Temple First Church of God in Christ, the pastor, who is my father, Reverend Godfrey Forbes, it's our understanding that this building project, if it moves forward, is going to be it's going to be situated, part of it will be situated directly behind our church, which has been there for now over 50 years. It's a well-needed opportunity. Speaking with Mr. Kent, providing an excellent explanation of what their intentions are. And we recognize that we definitely need to address the housing issue in the city of Hudson. But back to the issue of parking, in quoting Mr. Kent, there are far more spaces than there will be cars. As someone who actually grew up at that location and being in the Hudson area now for close to 50 years, there are not enough parking spaces for us now as a church. And I want to highlight again, we are on board with the concept of addressing the much needed housing issue. But this particular project, it's my understanding that there's not going to be any parking lot. It's also my understanding there's not going to be any restriction on how many cars each resident of this facility is going to have. You're talking about 77 units. And we don't know if 77 units could mean 77 residents, but since there's 2 and 3 bedrooms, we're probably talking about somewhere between 100, maybe 200 individuals. You're in a neighborhood where there are no supermarkets. To think that people are not going to need transportation. We already have ongoing issues with respect to parking. Not speaking as someone who performed a study, but as someone who has actually lived right in the neighborhood, and others as well that live there now. And so that's one of our primary concerns. We did address some other concerns with Mr. Kent because of prior issues and complaints with neighbors who have a problem with a Pentecostal church, and sometimes the noise that emanates from that kind of worship experience. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much. Next up is Steve Dunn. Wait, hold, you're not unmuted yet, Steve.
All right.
There you go.
This is painful for me because I'm friends with Eric Galloway and have socialized with him. And I just felt that this issue was too important for me to stay silent. I wrote a memorandum, it was complicated, and asked a lot of questions to help me formulate suggestions as to what I think is the right way for Hudson to go on this. None of them were answered. Now, I know I'm not on the council. Obviously, a decision was made by somebody that I didn't need to be addressed. Fair enough. But Mr. Kent made an assertion that there's now been a study that dealt with one of the issues in my memorandum, which is under a property tax assessment where you have a stabilized rent regime, you can assess it as at a higher rate as otherwise, obviously. I did a back of the envelope analysis, the upshot of which is the annual payment would be something, and I didn't know exactly what the numbers would be because I didn't have the information, but Mr. Kent does. That'd be about 130 to 140,000 a year. Mr. Kent tonight said he has a study saying it's 105,000. Why hasn't he shared it? Why hasn't he talked to me? Why hasn't he shared it with the council? Why hasn't he answered those other questions? I find that a bit frustrating. I also deal with a procedural issue that I find not so much for me because I can work my way through the system and know people and can call them and they still listen to me because they're masochists or whatever. But a lot of people can't, and we get documents at the last minute. Nobody can comment at a formal meeting till after a vote. This revised pilot, which I just saw for the first time 2 hours ago, incorporates by reference another agreement that states the length of the pilot. This isn't working. You need to let people speak at both meetings before votes, and they need to see the documents considerably beforehand to discuss them, and there needs to be a lot better communication. And there isn't, and people, it's poisoning the public square. It's toxic. And that's a problem when you have controversial issues. It'll create bitterness and anger that won't abate because people don't think they've had a fair shot. Anyway, it'd be nice if Mr. Kent would try to address, not tonight, it's complicated, but try to address some of the points I raised and to document his assertions and his studies that he says he has in hand as of what the property tax rate would be without a pilot. And I, in my white paper, memorandum, whatever you call it, not knowing the numbers that Mr. Kent knows, came up with a figure that this was at the 77,000, they could pay about 60,000 more than that. Now he says their own study, which has not been shared with the council or anybody else, says it's 105,000. Well, that's the case, and they're prepared to go ahead anyway. Okay. Plus, now apparently the council's being asked to vote with some pilot in place within a separate concept that there'll be another agreement sometime over the rainbow that they won't then seek a tax exemption. Finally, the rate of increase in expenses in the city, and check with your city treasurer, I believe are about 3% a year historically. The increase of the pilot is 2%. that 1% difference over 25, 30 years, whatever, gets to be a real number, gets to be big. So this is complicated. And my concern primarily, in a perfect world, I wish we had a bunch of mini pilots and spread it around the city rather than one behemoth building. And the problem is we're a little city and it's a big building, and this will blow, in my analysis, which Mr. Kent didn't address, a hole in your budget. And when this comes online, it will probably cost, again, my back of the envelope, Mr. Kent could help, 150, 200,000 a year. And you're either gonna have to raise taxes or gut other programs that people depend on. There's no free lunch here. I raised a lot, but at least, Mr. Kent, could you share the study that makes the claim that you don't need the council, so you get planning board approval and the rest of us to get a tax bill based on an assessment, which is in that study, obviously, of 105,000. That's an important document, because if that's a case, that's a pretty important fact. Okay, thank you. I probably went over 3 minutes, and I
Thank you, Stephen.
Council President, for your indulgence.
Thank you. Dan, would you like to address some of those issues?
I would, yeah. First, we've been very transparent, and we've talked about 581A with numerous council members. I know I spoke with Alderman Rosenthal and Alderwoman Trombley at length about this. So we have been very transparent, and it's, you know, it's a matter of state law. So 581A is the law, and the assessor's office is aware of it, and we've even requested an analysis from the assessor's office on what number they would come to. I think that would be, you know, even more useful than the number from our consultant, and then we could compare. So we've been very forthcoming about this, and I think, you know, even if the high end is the case, and that we're talking about 130,000 a year without a pilot, I think that shows just how generous this pilot agreement is. You know, if the city's contribution amounts to anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 per year, I think that shows why this is so much more generous than the other agreements you see throughout the Hudson Valley. And I think that's a testament to the negotiation of the council members, to the very clear case the council members have made about how important it is that this project maximize its tax contribution. And, you know, I'm very pleased that we've been able to get our pilot payment all the way up to $100,000 to show that we take that input seriously and that we too care about the tax base of the city.
Will you share your study or not?
So this is, you know, a calculation that was done by our consultant. It's not a study.
All right, so you're not going to share it.
I mean, it's done by the same methodology. I mean, I can tell you
I'm requesting that I see it, but I guess I won't. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, next up is Elizabeth Dickey. Elizabeth?
Hi. Yep, thank you, Tom. I just wanted to say specifically to Eileen and Dominic as my alder people in the 5th Ward, just because there was maybe a little bit of question about this. I just wanted to publicly voice my support for the pilot and say that I would be very happy to have that as my neighbor around the street, around the corner. And then another thing also, this wasn't what I had initially intended to say, but I wanted to underscore what April Forbes was saying with the concern about parking, and just to express that I really think it should be the responsibility of Galvin to ensure parking access for tenants. That seems like an extension of providing a good space to live, especially with April's point about there not being really available groceries and other services immediately in the area. And then the last thing I wanted to say, and I'm addressing this just to the full council, that I will share that as a constituent, some of the extremely specific questioning of the merits of this project at this point, or sort of these calls to, you know, broader imagination about how we can address the affordable housing crisis in Hudson, feels at this point really to be sort of more a stalling technique than one that's actually invested in getting at the best possible project. Because as I understand it, this process leaves various moments later on and has a certain built-in flexibility to allow for demands and revisions and changes. And I just would like to voice that it doesn't necessarily always feel I don't know, totally good faith to me at this point. But thank you. I appreciate all of the work that you're doing on this, and I really hope that we move forward with this. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Vern, you're up next, but I'm going to skip you just because there are a couple of people who haven't had a chance to talk at all yet, but I will come back to you. So Dylan, you're up next.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes.
Yes, great. So, yeah, I want to direct my question to my alderman, one of my aldermen, Jane Trombley, which is, and the other skeptics perhaps on the council, which is, I don't understand whose interests you are representing. I've been renting here in the first ward for 10 years, and I've been lucky. I've been lucky that my landlord was Galvan, because most of the other landlords have displaced people. It's like a ghost town in the first ward. And so, and then the concerns, while many poor and working people are being displaced every day, the concern is perhaps that taxes might go up on some of the wealthier homeowners in Hudson. I know it could affect some other people, and we should work to make sure that people do not lose their homes because of higher taxes. But anyways, I'm really curious. Who do you represent? Because you don't represent me.
Well, I guess, Jane, if you want to address that, you can. Otherwise, we'll just move ahead.
Well, I'll just say, Dylan, I take your point. Thank you. I think it's impossible for one person to represent, 1,500. So
Wow.
I would be happy to have this conversation offline and explain my position more fully to you, and perhaps understand yours more fully. So I think that I will want to make one point, though. If property taxes are affected, it won't just be for people, the so-called wealthy. It'll be across the board. So it'll be everybody that has property in Hudson: commercial property, residential property, rental property, owner-occupied property. It's going to affect everyone. So it isn't the kind of, I wouldn't say that I'm sort of protecting interests, which is what I infer from your comment, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, and you can reach me more easily than I can reach you. So I invite you to be in touch, and we'll continue this conversation offline. Thank you.
Thank you. Anik de Bellefeuille is up next. Anik, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, I'm coming at this from a very naive point of view. My elder person is Jane Trombley, and she happens to be my neighbor. And what I don't understand about, and I'm specifying that I'm coming at this from a very naive point of view, but what I don't understand about this whole project is that the government is putting up the enormous amount of money that it's going to cost, and Galvan is putting up a tiny amount, a very tiny amount. So that sounds to me like socialism for the very wealthy. And the whole point about the pilot, that's important. That's very important. I get it. And it's like, it's unfair. The percentage of the taxes that that project will pay for the individual units is not fair to all the other people who are paying taxes in the city. And I understand that we need affordable housing. I completely understand that, and I'm for that. But why do we have to support a company that has been a very bad landlord in the city in the first place? A company that is putting in so little money for the whole project in the first place? You know, I don't know who can answer this for me, because as I say, I'm not coming at it like with all your numbers and your, you know, you're very extremely knowledgeable figures and so on, but I don't understand why the city should support this plant in the first place, and I'm against it. Okay, say what I have to say.
Thank you, Anik. Dan, would you like to address a couple of those comments?
So first and foremost, there is no tax benefits to any wealthy organization. We are a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the city of Hudson, and with a special focus on meeting the needs of the most vulnerable and economically disadvantaged. So every dollar of rent that someone living in one of our apartments pays, that anyone living in this building pays, goes to benefit important initiatives like supporting Hudson Area Library, like helping to get Bard Early College Hudson started up. So there is no private individual or wealthy individual associated with Galvin who is seeing a penny of that. So this is not socialism for the wealthy in any sense.
Really?
On top of that, it's important to note we are contributing $810,000 worth of land and cash to this project, which is more than a for-profit affordable housing developer is required to contribute by the state. So not only are we a nonprofit, but we're also putting in more money than a for-profit developer would.
Thank you, Dan.
Can I say something just in response to that question too, and to Anik?
Sure.
So, Anik, I mean, I think that you are coming to this conversation late, and there has been a lot of explanation of the process of the production of affordable housing. I would be happy to arrange a conversation for you with somebody who's engaged in that field, who could explain to you why things go the way they go and how the whole field works, if you'd like. So just let me know.
Thank you, Rebecca. Tiffany had a comment, and then we'll get to the other people who haven't talked yet. But Tiffany's a council member, so Tiffany.
Thank you. Going back, I would like to say I agree with what the mayor had stated. And also in defense of the Hudson Terraces, which I share as an alderman for the second ward, I want to just address this to Ms. Jane. Since we started dealing with COVID-19, I have reached out to you as well as Rebecca Wolf, letting you know how to contact the Hudson Terraces. And in defense of them, they respond immediately. I've reached out to them throughout the years, whether there was a specific event or information, and they have a newsletter that they print out and send out to all their residents. So please double check your emails, because I know for a fact they respond immediately.
Thank you, Tiffany. Chris somebody have something to say? Chris McManus is up next. Chris? Are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Great. Okay, thank you for calling on me. I'll keep it brief. I just wanted to say that affordable housing is a priority. It's an urgency. It's not something that we can sit on our hands. I know that some people are not thrilled with this, but my question is the same question I asked every single alder in an email. What is the alternative? What I'm not hearing is, if people are not happy with this, I'm not hearing alternatives. I'm not hearing other solutions. And I would have to agree with an earlier constituent who said that this is perhaps a stalling technique. If you are opposed to this, that's fine, but answer my email and tell me what the alternative is. If not, I suggest that you negotiate, get on board, and help us finally get affordable housing that we so desperately need. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Michael Hoffman. Are you there, Michael Hoffman?
Good. Great.
Hello? Michael Hoffman? We can't hear you if you're there.
Not unmuted yet.
Can you unmute Michael? Oh, there he goes. Michael Hoffman. Michael Hoffman, would you like to speak? Well, I guess not. And it brings us back to Vern Cross. Vern?
I'm here, Tom.
Okay.
Took me a little while.
I'm sorry, what?
Took me a little while to get back. I'm sorry. I was listening to everybody. Again, I just want to, and this is out of my character, but I want to thank each and every council member for what they have done so far. But I have to challenge them. Every council member knows me. And I got to give a shout out to John Rosenthal. Me and him have a conversation. He was one of the only ones to actually have dialect with me. So John, respect to you, but they all know me, Tom, and you know me. And what I don't understand is that my two other people, and also Jane is talking about, well, nobody contacted me. Nobody contacted me. Nobody reached out to me. But it's kind of weird when it's time to get these votes, they find a way to find people. And all I'm saying is, listen, we all know that affordable housing is needed. We know that. We all know that majority of you, if not all of you, ran on affordable housing. I have to repeat what Chris said. If you don't like this one, give me something different. My bigger question to everyone, Tiffany, you did your thing, girl. Respect. My bigger question to anyone is, why is Galvin our bailout? Why do we feel like Galvin owes us anything? Do they not own that property? Because if they don't, just please tell me, do they own that property that we're talking about? Why do we feel that way? I want the best deal for everybody, but they've made changes. They did the things that we need to be done. Do we care about affordable housing or not? Listen, voting is coming up, COVID or not. Eileen, you will be out. I see you at Stewart's. I know you over there. I seen you. You came to my house. We had a conversation. Steve Dunn, me and you had a conversation. So you guys know it's time for you guys to stand up and represent the people that actually voted for you. That's all I'm saying. Just represent the people that actually voted for you. Please. Shaheem, I love you, bro.
Thank you, Vern. Tiffany, you're up again. Did you have something else?
Yeah, it's just baffles me. It's just, and it's so depressing, you know, how individuals can go out every day and act like they really are concerned for the people and just sit here and say, well, I know we need affordable housing, but, and for other individuals that sit on this council to say they don't see those numbers, it's a sad thing, because you're not researching, you're not doing it. Like, are you waiting for someone else to do your job, or is this your last term? Because this is just ridiculous. For you to sit back and say, I mean, how many people on the council reached out to developers from the beginning of their terms, or in the past years to your elected officials to say, hey, reach out to this one, this developer? Like, I never heard it, I don't see it. We have this opportunity, and I don't know if that makes you feel good inside to just say, well, I know we need it, but we need it, and this is the time to do it. This is what you've been voted for. So, like, do it. I'm a property owner. Who cares? You are property owners. Who cares? Our concern is for the individuals that need a place to live, and not just on Warren Street.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Tiffany. But let's be careful, all of us, of questioning people's motives. That's not really what we do, but that's okay. I mean, you can ask questions of each other, but let's be careful. Let's not go over that line. CC, excuse me, Selha, you're up next.
Tom, you should know how to say my name by now, but anyway. Good evening.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Yep.
You can hear me right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't move. Nope, you're breaking up.
Okay.
CC, maybe turn off your video and we could hear you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I know I don't live in the city of Hudson, but I am on the board for Hudson. You might have to come back to me.
Okay.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I thought if I went outside it'd be better. Okay. Just want to say really quickly, first of all, I know that I don't live in the city of Hudson, but I have roots and ties there. I'm a public servant right now, and when I took the oath and I understood what it meant, I just want to remind everyone else, whether you're being praised on the board or not, or whether you're doing good works then in the opinions of others or not, just remember that you're a servant, you're a public servant. Right now, every night that I go into Hudson, I check on an individual, a female who is homeless. She's also disabled in Hudson. I've called up to DSS on her behalf, but because I'm not a representative of her, I can't get into her business like that unless she brings me there. And right now she's holding on to hope and pride as well. And I just have to say, I don't know if anybody's ever been homeless, if anybody's ever even had the idea that they could become homeless. It is not something that you walk into with any kind of understanding. It is something that takes away water, it takes away shelter, it brings on danger. Homelessness is something that everybody in this country in some level or way has had to deal with, whether by financial reasons, whether by government reasons. All I'm saying is it's not really about what you want for your family and your friends. It's about what you're doing as a public service to other people. And you should just keep that in mind and do the right thing. Because if there's no other alternative, what are you going to wait for? What are they going to wait for? How long can they wait? That's all I wanted to say. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Cece. Next up, we're going to try again. Michael Hoffman, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Sorry for the issue on my end with Zoom previously. As a member, as a resident of the First Ward, I first off want to voice my support for the pilot program. I think it's important for the city to begin the process of investigating and beginning this project. My question is actually is directed towards the resolution that was presented at the beginning of the meeting regarding the school resource officer. As someone who is particularly concerned with the actual need for such an officer in our schools, and being someone who is very keenly aware of spending for the police, I wanted to, this is perhaps maybe a question for the police committee, but to ask about the actual cost of that school resource officer for the Hudson City School District. I know that the resolution states that it is a $40,000 payment annually, but there is additional costs in overtime and training that I want to get clear on. So that's just my question.
Yeah, those are good questions. And let's see, the next police committee is, let me check, hold on one second. Is not until after our formal meeting next week. If you write to me and to Dewan, the chairman of the committee, we'll try to get those numbers to you.
It's on 27.
It's on the 27th, I know, but we're going to be voting on this next week, so I would like to get the numbers to him before that.
Okay.
Okay, Michael?
Yes, thank you so much.
Sure. Next up is Rebecca Borer.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing okay out there. So I just wanted to echo what my fellow constituents of the Fifth Ward have said. You know, I've also voiced support for this pilot, and there's a lot of things going on in this meeting that I want to talk about, but really just echoing what Mayor Johnson said as well about, you know, there was a protest that was led by the social justice leaders of Kite's Nest, and the need for affordable housing is so potent and real and necessary. And like this program is, we need this in our city. And as far as I know, in this meeting, there's been at least 3 residents of the 5th Ward that have voiced that they want this to go through. So, you know, there was someone said that it's not possible to represent all of their constituency or like 1,500 people, and that's literally what you're elected to do. So I just want to say that please vote yes when it comes, or aye, or whatever. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful evening.
Thank you, Rebecca. Next, Rebecca Wolf, I'll get to you, but Dewan has his hand up first. Dewan?
All right. Thank you, Tom. First, I keep saying all from beginning, we need an affordable house. We need an affordable house. And finally, we got something. And this is good opportunity for Hudson. We need affordable house in Hudson. And Dan and Tiffany worked together, and they did a good job. They negotiate and bring it down a lot of changes they did. And I don't know, we got something on our hand, and we should focus on this, not fighting, not go against that. This is our opportunity. That's why I'm always for this, like affordable house, this pilot program. I'm all in for this. And thanks, Tiffany. You did a hard job for this. That's all.
Thank you, Dewan.
Thank you, Dewan.
Yeah, Dewan, I mean, we've all been negotiating. I mean, at least for my part, I've been negotiating.
I know, John, you
really
did
hard.
too, but Tiffany did a
I've been
lot of
working,
work.
I know Tiffany's been working hard as
Tiffany
well.
emailed me. I'm sorry, John, you did it too, but Tiffany was started, you
But
know.
it's more that I just want to say something. Dewan, let me say something, please.
Yeah, sure.
It's our job to negotiate.
I know, but
we don't jump at the first offer. We try to get the best offer that we can out of our partner.
I
if we're going to enter in a partnership here.
And not for nothing, John, and you know, don't try to take away my credit. You know, that is the truth. When this project was proposed to the council, we all had issues, and I reached out to Dan, and I reached out to the rest of the council, and started getting this work together that will help benefit everyone.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
thank
trying
you
to take
again,
away your
Dewan.
credit. I'm not taking, I acknowledge it. You did a lot of work. I'm just trying to say that this has been a process across the board of the council. And we should be fair to the people who also expressed real skepticism, because, you know, we have to examine this thing. So this has been a crash course in learning how affordable housing developments work, and they're complex, and it takes a lot of work. So just to say, you know, that we just have to run out of the gates and just support everything, you know, that's not doing our duty as elected officials too, because we do represent everyone in the city. And, you know, I'm glad that we've gotten it this far, because it's taken a lot of work, and I acknowledge your work, Tiffany. You did a great job. But
8 months.
And I also thanks Dan that he compromised a lot of stuff and helped us.
Yes, Rebecca Wolf had her hand up, and then Jane Trombley.
I'm good. Never mind. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Jane.
Thanks, Tom. I'd like to take the moment to acknowledge, I mean, the time that Dan Kent spent with me on 2 occasions in in conversations, one in person and one on the phone, where he spent enormous amount of time educating me about the sort of the nuances of this funding thing. So, you know, there are a lot of people who have been involved in this, and there are a lot of people who have been negotiating and talking and getting involved. But I think it's only fair that especially since many have cited that they don't agree with my position, that I have striven to understand it, understand the pilot, understand municipal finance, understand the nuances of this program. And I wouldn't have come to the position I I'm evolving toward without the help of Dan. And he has been an extremely generous partner. He's been extremely transparent with me. And I just wanted to take that moment to thank him publicly. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Jane. Oh,
Could,
Rebecca,
could I
you
just,
wanted to-
I'm sorry, I did want to just say one thing quickly is just that, you know, the idea that Alderwoman Trombley espoused of trying to, you know, as a city, be resourceful, be creative, think about future projects, future other initiatives for affordable housing. I think, you know, my hope is that we will have many opportunities, and it's a both and. This is a start, and this is a project that engages the city of Hudson with the state in a way that is incredibly meaningful and productive going forward for other projects as well. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you, Rebecca. I have two hands up. I'm going to go with the council person first, and that is Malachi. Unmute yourself, Malachi. We can't hear you. There you go.
How you doing, Tom? I just wanted to address the council and, you know, constituents and everybody. Just to say, you know what? I am personally so glad that it didn't go through the last, you know, meeting. I mean, simply because now look what's happening. We're having some real dialogue. You know, I actually definitely want to commend the Galvin Foundation for their willingness and, you know, to commit to the you know, affordable housing and the needs of the city. I think because, you know, we did hold off, you know, there's more room to open up different things going on. Look what's going on now. They're up to 100,000. The preference for the minority commercial space there. You know, they're just willing to open up dialogue and to address the community because they recognize, they realize that they are part of the community too. The Galvin Foundation is, you know, I've had several conversations. And I know we've all had conversations, you know, just outside of, you know, just basic talks, but, you know, really reached out trying to make this thing work because, you know, it's never been an opposed project on my part anyway, but just, I feel that being from Hudson, and I'm probably one of, you know, the three that's actually from Hudson, born and raised, I felt I would have been doing an injustice to just settle for, you know, the first initial thing that came our way. So I'm just really, you know, I'm just excited to just explore more, see, you know, where this goes. But as far as affordable housing, and I believe the Galvin Foundation would be willing to, and we talk about the scattered housing and things of that nature, they're willing. I mean, again, I've seen changes and just how they've been doing things, and you know, I'm looking forward to see what happens after this, because right now, again, there's been changes already made, and that was to my point. That was exactly to my point. That, you know, let's work together to get Hudson the, you know, the best benefits as possible. You know, this is my town, home, born and raised here. You know, we deserve it. We kings and queens here. We deserve the best out of this deal. And you know, so again, I was skeptical. I was conflicted about the vote because I understand the need for housing. I work in this city, you know, half of my life, just being, you know, there for the people for this particular thing, working with housing, working with, you know, just affordability and that sort of thing. But for me, it's personal, you know, so I wasn't willing to just settle. You know, I think we deserve the best. And that's coming from, you know, somebody, you know, from Hudson who, you know, again, I don't have a personal issue with the Gavin Foundation. Again, I know that there's been some talks, and again, I'm not speaking on that, but you know, I see positives and I see changes. I feel that we're able to really have a real dialogue, you know, with the Gavin Foundation, and they are willing to embrace it. And that to me speaks volumes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we get to the, there's another council person who'd like to speak first, John Rosenthal.
Yeah, and Malachi, thank you. Malachi also did a lot of work and really, you know, has really explored a lot of stuff here and helped bring this along. I think we've all done a fair amount of work here. We do need to acknowledge the point that there's 60% of the people in this city rent, and to the statistics in the Strategic Housing Action Plan, there is an acute crisis here, and we're going to have to develop a lot of different approaches to doing this. But in this one instance, the more research I've done, it's clear this is how these projects go about. They're complex. They involve leveraging X amount of equity to equal Y outcome. But the more that you explore, it does seem that this is a pretty fair, and the proposal as it is right now, it doesn't seem that there's anything untoward about it, the more research that I've done. So we do have to make the decision, is this the type of thing we want to invest in as a community? And I think having an affordable place for people to live and rent is an absolute necessity here. I'm a renter. And so, but all that said, it is our duty to do this exploration of the financials and really make sure we vet something instead of just always approaching something purely ideologically. So I know we've done a lot of work here. I've read more about this stuff now than I could ever imagine, and I still need to. So far, I've been greatly relieved that my negotiations and conversations with Dan and Galvin have been fruitful, and also my conversations with other aldermen have been equally deep and fruitful on this point. So I don't think anyone's taking this lightly, but you know, this is a pretty major undertaking. So and it deserves this level of dialogue. And I think going forward, we need to set up some sort of system or process where there's a lot more transparency and a lot more community buy-in early on in the process, so we can make sure we don't have this level of rancor. Because this, you know, we're fortunate that we have a partner that has property and can develop, because we are resource starved as a municipality ourselves. So, you know, like it or not, we have to work with our partner, Galvin, in this. And if we're going to do more of these types of developments, I just hope and encourage that we could create some sort of clearinghouse or a way to develop projects, vet them in a much more transparent way, so it doesn't feel like we're, you know, behind the gun on something. Because, you know, something that could have a lot of positives for this community shouldn't be just so negative and full of a lot of fear on both sides.
Thank you, John. Next up is Anya. Are you there, Anya?
Yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Great. I just wanted to say, I'll keep this quick. I just want to say, since we're apparently taking a roll call of Fifth Ward constituents that support this project, that I am one of them, and I have written my support of it. I think it's right to be skeptical of a big corporation's intentions, but if the housing crisis is now, and it is now, how can we think or talk in hypotheticals about the future or possible solutions down the line? The housing crisis isn't new, it's not recent, so I don't understand how any alderman can possibly justify saying no to this now. Thanks, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Okay, we're getting some more repeats. Signe. Unmute yourself. We cannot hear you.
Unmute me.
There you go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, just another question for Dan Kent. Dewar, I believe, asked him about the 30-year time period for the mortgage. And he said, well, you know, that's the term. My question is, how much money is this mortgage? It's not the 21.5 million. It's like 500,000 plus, right?
So the mortgage is around 6.5 million. And I can double check on this, but I think the 30-year term is also a requirement of the state financing. So
right.
Not just a preference for the bank, but
Okay.
that shows how important the state financing and public support is.
So
You know,
when I read something, it must have been an oversimplification, that the project was $22 million and that Galvin was putting in $500,000, which meant there was 21.5 left over. That's not correct math, right?
So the sources for this project include the private mortgage from the bank, 9% low-income housing tax credits, the middle-income housing program, which is also through New York State HCR, the Housing Trust Fund program, also through New York State.
Everything you're saying now, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
How about let him answer first?
Yeah, okay.
And then finally, the NYSERDA Buildings of Excellence program. So it's a combination of private and public sources. And then Galvin is putting in $810,000 worth of equity, which includes the land that we're donating to the project and cash that we're donating to the project. And for context, a for-profit developer would not even be required to contribute as much as we're contributing. And we're a nonprofit organization.
So this list that you just, produced for us, can we read that somewhere? Are there papers that I missed? Are there documents?
The project fact sheet, it's on the city's website, and we circulated it from.
Okay, I missed that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, we have 2 more comments and I think we're gonna wrap it up. One is, yet again, Vern Cross.
Tom, I just love talking to you, man.
I know. Hey, I got a bone to pick with you.
Do you?
Yeah,
Listen.
How come it's not President Tom?
Well, you're Tom to me.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
Okay, that's cool.
I voted for you, though. I did vote for you. But I will, and Tom, with all due respect, I'm sorry. President.
No, I don't care.
No, I will do that. You're right. President Tom. So I just want to talk to Alderman Malachi. And all I want to ask to Alderman Malachi, and with all respect, do you have a solution, or are you just waiting to figure out what everybody else is going to do and then add your input? Because I know for a fact that you ran on affordable housing. As a matter of fact, I knocked on doors for you, sir. I wore your pin, sir. So I'm asking you, do you have a plan, or are you just trying to shake Galvin down to see how low they can get?
Well, Malachi, you want to answer that and then we'll wrap this up.
So let me get this straight, Vern. So you feel that me caring about the city is more like a shakedown for Galvin?
Can I respond?
Yeah.
Last time when I responded out of order, my alderwoman said I was out of order, and I'm really upset. She didn't even answer my email, and damn, she came to my house. But Mal, I don't think that what you did is wrong. I think that you're on the right path, but I just want to hear what you have. Like, as an older person, you have to come there with a solution. You ran on housing, bro. I walked for you. I knocked on doors for you. I have that green pen in my house. It's on my hat. Right. So I'm asking you, do you have any other alternative? And this is man to man, no disrespect, but I'm saying, do you have any other alternative if this doesn't go through?
If it doesn't go through. Well, this is the thing, Vern. Let me.
Mal, I'm sorry, sir. I'm asking you a question.
Now,
as a public official, no, listen, sir. I respect you, but as a public official, I just want to answer. And the answer is, do you have another alternative if this doesn't go through? You ran on housing, sir. Did you not? Let's go back. Did you not run on housing, sir?
Go ahead.
I'm asking you, did you not run on housing, sir?
Of course, I ran out housing, Vern.
All right, wait. I'm just asking you simple questions, bro. I got mad love for you.
Okay, guys, okay.
All right, so now
Yeah.
something's wrong because we're having dialect. There's nothing wrong. Everything's good. I just want him to answer this question for me. And I won't do it to anybody else. The only other person that I can have this type of conversation is with Tiffany. And I see where she sits. And all I'm saying is, Malachi, you have the right to not believe in this at all. You can say this is the worst thing ever, but you ran on housing. So I expect, and everybody around you expect, if you don't like this, then come up with something better. Love you, bro.
This what you, okay. Thank you, Vern. But listen, what you got to understand is this. Me being in this position, like I said, you know, I'm a God-fearing man, so God is the only one I fear. So when it comes to just following,
I don't understand what that meant. Okay.
Okay. But listen, when it comes to actually following coalition and just following the crowd, you may not see me there.
I don't understand that either. I asked you a direct question. See, I knew you was going to do this. I asked you a direct question.
Guys,
Tom, President Tom, please allow me to do this. I'm being respectful. I'm not yet.
So Vern, do you not see, okay, so to my point, like I said, do you not see certain changes that's occurring right now?
I do, but I'm just asking you,
and
sir.
that's what I was going with, what I was talking about. What I'm saying is, but listen, Vern, listen, give me a chance to talk. You talking and then you trying to override me. Let me talk. Okay, so the Galvin Foundation, like I said, I commend them for being able to go back to the drawing board and have some dialogue, real dialogue, and maybe changing some things. And I want the best for the city of Hudson. I don't want the first, fastball thrown at us and we got to swing at it. I don't want to feel like we're being vulnerable to any situation. No, this is Hudson. This is where we're born and raised. So my thing is, I just feel, let's get the best deal out of this, not just jump at the first thing that's thrown at us. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm saying this too, Vern, is because when initially it was at 70,000, and then it got changed to 80,000. So now my thinking is, okay, if it got changed from 70 to 80, when I was told that, that's, that we weren't able to do that. Now I'm thinking like, okay, can we actually, come up with some more figures? Can we do a better presentation with this thing and get more out of this? Not that I'm trying to shake anybody down. No, I love my city. I'm from Hudson. I want the best for the city of Hudson. I'm not gonna just settle. That's not what I'm and that's not what I'm here for. Like I said, I believe God put me here for a reason, because again, my integrity is real. I stand on something, and I believe that the best for the city is yet to come.
I respect that, Tom.
This is getting out of
Wait.
hand.
Hold on, everybody, hold on. Hold on here. Hello.
We just talking. We having dialogue. It's all right.
Tom, as a constituent, I demand that I be able to respond to that. And Eileen is getting out of hand because you're not ready to vote yet. When you come to my house, then it won't be out of hand. But here's my thing to you, Malachi. I respect you, bro. And I understand what you're saying. But all I'm asking you is, if this plan was not put up in front of you, then what would you have? Bro, you talk about taking the first pitch, but you got to understand, the batting coach is the one that's demanding the pitch. You didn't even demand the pitch. Bro, all I'm saying is, like, if you don't like this, then come up with something different. And don't come up with something different saying, oh, y'all want 77. I think we should get 100. That's cool. I love Hud City too, bro. We in the same field. You know that. You know we are.
So then you know that I would have felt an injustice to just vote on the spot like that.
Then come up with something different, Mal. Okay. I'm not questioning your vote. Just come up with something different.
Okay.
I support you. Tom, thank you. Councilmember Eileen.
Okay.
Dominic, I'm Fifth Ward. I can't be heard? Wow. Every time I speak, Eileen says I'm out of order. Why? Because I don't do what you tell me to do. I've been the same person the day you came to my house. I told you. What did I say to you, Eileen? I said the same thing. Ask Steve Dunn. He knows. Y'all have a good night. Now I respect you. Shaheem, you my guy.
Okay. Thank you, Vern. Let's see. Okay. What else is up here? I think I have one last, this is going to be the last person to speak. It's Linda Mussman.
Hello, can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Just would like to remind the council that the last reval was extremely difficult for the city. Many of the people who live and pay taxes in the city of Hudson. And many of those people struggling right now to pay the taxes because of the last reval. And we all know that this project is going to ask more of the taxpayers of the city of Hudson. So in reality, something is going to have to be cut. Is it going to be youth programs? Is it going to be the police? What is it that we're going to see cutting so that this project can be affordable? Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we're going to cut off the comments for tonight because we're 2 hours and 15 minutes into the meeting and I don't see any hands anyway. Thank you all. I'm trying to think what else we need to do here. Hold on a second. Oh, to remind you, we do have a local law still on our desks, the PACE financing program. Is somebody saying something? Okay. I think that's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Anyone? Who's that?
Dawn.
Dawn, there's a motion. Do I have a second?
Eileen.
Eileen. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And anyone who doesn't?
You should let Calvin out of purgatory.
Oh, right.
Oh, poor Calvin. Oh, geez.
Calvin, welcome back if you're there.
And don't drink wine on camera.
Yeah. A final reminder, by the way, and for those who may have joined late, the legal committee meeting is on August 26th, and we anticipate a similar spirited conversation, much like tonight, at 6:15, August 26th. And that's it. Thank you all for behaving much better than the last meeting. That's it.
Thanks, Dad.
You're welcome.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night. Cheers.